Hello everybody, I am Upendra Gaur. I teach Sociology at Shubhra Ranjan IAS. Here, for the benefit of the students, I have decided to talk about some questions. I have taken 3 questions from the previous years, UPSC for Sociology, and I would read out the model answers to give you a feel how the questions have to be answered. So the first question is, what is positivism? What is positivism? And the second part of the question is, what are the limitations of the positivist approach in sociology? So there are 2 parts of the question. First, what is positivism? And the second is, what are its limitations? Now, looking at the first part of the question, the term positivism was coined by Auguste Comte. He was the one who used this term for the first time. He believed that religious ideas and social philosophy were no longer suitable as forms of knowledge to understand and reconstruct the emergent industrial society. Now, I presume you are familiar with Auguste Comte, that Auguste Comte wanted to reconstruct society because Europe in his time was in a continuous state of disorder. So it is in this context he is saying he believed that religious ideas and social philosophy were no longer suitable as forms of knowledge to understand and reconstruct the emergent industrial society. Instead, he wanted to apply methods of natural sciences to study contemporary society in order to discover laws governing stability and change, social statics and social dynamics. And those who adhere to this view that methods of natural sciences can also be applied to the study of society and laws can be discovered about social reality, those who adhere to this viewpoint are called positivists. So positivists believe that social reality is an objective reality. I hope you understand the meaning of this. Social reality is an objective reality. That means it has an independent existence. It exists independent of the observer. As Emile Durkheim pointed out, treat social facts as things. So social reality is external to individuals and constrains their behavior. Secondly, the positivists believe that social reality can be known by observation from outside, and statistical quantification is possible. Thirdly, by repeated observation, causal generalizations can be discovered. These are the 3 basic, defining characteristics of positivism. Now, Emile Durkheim, A.R. Radcliffe Brown, R.K. Merton, even Talcott Parsons, and many others have followed the positivist approach. However, there are various limitations encountered in applying the positivist approach. One, the problem of experimentation. Second, the problem of quantification. Social reality can be quantified only partly using statistical methods. Quantification using cardinal numbers is not possible. Then, third limitation is the problem of generalization. In fact, we can see that even today, there are no law-like generalizations in sociology. Because generalizations can only be discovered when the reality itself follows a definite pattern. And there are no such definite patterns in sociology, in society. Human behavior is changeable. So very limited generalization in the form of thesis or tendency statements can be formulated. Then, furthermore, as pointed out by anti-positivists, a serious limitation of positivist approach is that they ignore the subjective dimensions of human behavior. So at best, the positivist approach is partial and incomplete. Human behavior is guided by subjective meanings and motives of the actors, and has to be understood by interpreting these meanings and motives. Meanings cannot be observed from outside. They can only be interpreted. So, for example, phenomenologists believe that sociologists have to simply understand common sense meanings by which people construct and classify social reality. So this is how there are numerous limitations in the positivist approach. However, the anti-positivist approach is only applicable at micro-sociological level. And the positivist approach continues to be used in macro-sociological studies. So this is about positivism and its limitations. Now we move on to the second question. Second question I have picked up from thinkers. How is Weber's theory of religion different from Durkheim's theory of religion? This is the question. We have to highlight the differences in Weber's approach to study of religion and Durkheimian approach to study of religion. Now, both Weber and Durkheim had an abiding interest in religious phenomena. Consequently, both explored the role of religion in society. However, there are important differences in their approaches and views about religion. One, Weber's approach is within the tradition of historical sociology. On the other hand, Emil Durkheim's approach laid the foundation of the functionalist tradition in sociology. That is how the two approach religion differently. Second point, that Weber investigated the role of Protestantism in European society, which was at the threshold of modernity. Emil Durkheim investigated the role of an elementary religious life in a pre-literate tribal society. The types of societies they studied were different. Thirdly, Weber's study was based on Protestant literature as the source of data, while Emil Durkheim's study was based on ethnographic study of the simple society. But both try to rely on empirical evidence as the basis of study. That is the commonality in the two approaches. Then, furthermore, Weber's study followed the principle of causal pluralism and demonstrated how religious ideology contributed to social change in European society. Using the methodological tools of Verstehen and ideal type, Weber showed that Protestant ethos in the early 17th century contributed to the rationalization of the mindset, which facilitated in the rise of capitalism. Now, on the other hand, Emil Durkheim's study followed the positivist approach and demonstrated how participation in religious worship contributed to social solidarity in a primitive society. Durkheim believed that the essence of religion in modern society is the same as that in mono-religious simple society. So Durkheim was showing how religion contributed to solidarity. Weber showed how religion contributed to rationalization and social change. So one was concerned with stability in society, other was concerned with change. And that is how their contributions are complementary to each other. Now, the third question I have taken up is, discuss Emil Durkheim's notion of sacred and profane. This is on the dichotomy of sacred and profane which Durkheim used in his study of religion. So let us look at the answer. Durkheim developed the notion of sacred and profane to explain the essential nature of the religious phenomena. While rejecting Tyler's and Max Muller's views on religion, Durkheim argued that given the dual nature of life experience, that human life experience is dual. We experience things in the form of a duality, good, bad, desirable, undesirable, happy, unhappy. So there is a duality in the life experience. And because of this duality of life experience, man in every society develops a dichotomous view of reality. And this dichotomy is expressed in the division of reality into the categories of sacred and profane. Sacred and profane are mutually opposed. Sacred is believed to demand a special religious treatment manifested in the attitude of awe and reverence. Now, so sacred is believed to demand a special religious treatment manifested in the attitude of awe and reverence towards the sacred. The sacred is segregated, and religious rules regulate the access to sacred because the profane is supposed to defile the sacred. If profane comes into contact with the sacred, it defiles the sacred. Then, further, however, sacredness is superimposed. Nothing is intrinsically sacred. Whatever society defines as sacred becomes sacred. And sacred is non-empirical and non-utilitarian. There is no empirical basis for things to be called sacred. Then further, sacred makes ethical demands. And if these demands are propitiated, sacred is believed to reciprocate. And sacred is regarded as strength giving. Religion, according to Durkheim, is the worship of the sacred. However, such a dichotomous view of reality, in which the reality is classified into sacred and profane, has been criticized by Edmund Leach. Edmund Leach suggested that instead there is a threefold classification of reality. On the two polarities, we have sacred and profane, and in between the two lies the mundane, which is neither sacred nor profane. So this is about the brief talk I wanted to have about the three questions, giving you the answers to the questions. That's how you should be able to write precisely, simply, and directly your answer for the UPSC questions. Thank you.